Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a profoundly intricate philosophical concept detailed by the author Xiufan. It's called the life and death array. We're going to map out the exact architecture of this metaphysical trap, take a hard look at how it functions in our everyday lives, and, maybe most importantly, walk through the radical framework Xiufan proposes for finally breaking free from it. Let's get right into it.
I want you to stop for a second and genuinely ask yourself, are you trapped in an endless cycle of joys and sorrows that you can't even see? Seriously, think about the emotional turbulence of your daily life. The highs, the lows, the seemingly random series of events that just kind of pull you in a million different directions. Well, what if those aren't just random occurrences? What if that relentless pendulum swing is actually part of a highly structured, inescapable loop? Okay, let's dive into this by looking at Xiufeng's core metaphor. He writes, life continues endlessly, revolving ceaselessly, erasing memories of past lives. This is the life and death array. So the fundamental premise here is that existence, it's not just a straight line from birth to death. Not at all. It's a ceaseless game, an endless repetition where dramas unfold and things thrive, only to reset over and over again, completely wiping the slate of our past memories clean.
To put it as clearly as possible, the life and death array is an eternal cycle of growth, decline, and reincarnation. Now, obviously, the human body doesn't live forever, right? We all face physical decay. But within this framework, the cycle of the soul itself is eternal. The human soul continuously reappears as a quote-unquote new self, just riding along this endless train of history. You might wake up feeling like a brand new person, stepping into a brand new world. But according to this text, it's really just the array, continuously renewing and eliminating.
Section 1. The endless cycle of life, like waves pushing forward.
Now, what's really interesting about this whole dynamic is how Xiufan uses this beautifully poetic imagery to describe what it feels like on a cosmic scale. Just think about the inherent dualism of this cycle. On one hand, we have arrivals. This represents the new views, the endless hope, that amazing sensation of becoming a new self. But equally present are the departures, the fading scenery, the erasing of memories, the decaying, and ultimately, the emptiness. The source text describes this as a journey without an end, where things seem new yet not old, familiar yet not original, clear but confusingly inverted. Arrivals and departures are just two sides of the exact same spinning coin, creating this illusion of forward momentum while actually keeping you firmly in place.
Section 2. Drifting in the array, jostling on life's path.
You know, it's one thing to talk about cosmic waves, but how does this river of history actually toss us around on a daily basis? Well, it breaks down into a profound emotional roller coaster. On one side, we have joy and comedy. That's anticipating future joys, finally finding the light after a really long darkness. But then on the other side, we have sorrow and tragedy, clinging to past grievances or realizing that what looked like hope actually has despair waiting at the end of it. The author points out that joy and sorrow constantly intersect and alternate. They come and go, kind of like the seasons of spring and fall. So we drift in this current, sometimes totally aimless, sometimes thinking we see the way ahead, but ultimately, we're caught in this emotional loop of anticipation and despair.
Section 3. The trap of reincarnation. Scenes never ending.
All right, this is the agitation phase of the philosophy. This is where we examine exactly what happens to the human soul if we stay blindly trapped inside these endless permutations. Just think about how relentless and exhausting this reality feels. Paths never fully traversed, hardships never fully consumed, joys never fully enjoyed, calamities never borne, anger never vented, debts never repaid. The text emphasizes that these scenes literally never end. It's an overwhelming rapid-fire entanglement of human relationships, of fluctuating honor and disgrace, rise and fall. It's basically an unfinishable checklist of human experience that just keeps piling up, cycle after cycle, life after life. And the stakes of remaining in this entangled state, they are incredibly high. The source material is very clear on this. Every single person is within the life and death array, and without escaping it, there is absolutely no end in sight. Failure to escape means you cannot break free from the 6 realms of reincarnation, which are essentially the different tiers of cyclical existence. It means you will eternally suffer the torment of the 5 element cycles, constantly bound by physical and cosmic forces. And most importantly, without breaking free, you can never reach the sacred realm of the celestial land. So this array isn't just a clever metaphor, it is an active prison preventing your spiritual transcendence.
Section 4. Escaping the array. The spark of enlightenment. So the crucial point is, how do we actually stop this spinning? Let's take a deep breath.
Step out of that frantic cycle for a moment and look at the cure. The author offers a very specific path to transcendence, and it starts with understanding the foundational paradox of existence itself. He says, "Where there is life, there is inevitably death. Life and death depend on each other, each being the root of the other. You simply cannot have one without the other. Without birth, there's no death. Without death, there's no birth. To escape the array, you must first deeply understand that life and death are completely interdependent. They feed each other in this continuous loop we've been discussing." Based on that paradox, Zhufang outlines a pretty radical method for transcendence, broken down into these specific paradigm shifts. Step 1, think unconventionally. You really have to let your imagination soar here. The text instructs us to transform life into death and death into life, to essentially die first, then be born, living without death. Step 2, stay away from illusions. Now, this means aggressively detaching from the material world and what the author calls inverted dreams. You must abandon love and hatred, reject closeness and distance, and completely drop worry and fear. And step 3, treat everything as a game. Realize that only life, in the absolute highest spiritual sense, is real. Everything else playing out in the material world, it's just a game you happen to be playing. When you finally achieve this level of detachment, you reach a state of true enlightenment. And I just love this poetic description from the text. Flowers bloom and wither without stirring emotions. Clouds gather and disperse without affecting the heart. Just imagine that level of profound peace. Right and wrong simply vanish. Honor and disgrace become completely irrelevant. You live without agitation, without attachment, and without restraint. You just follow the flow and roam freely. But you can't just detach from the earth. You have to attach to something higher. And this brilliantly illustrates the final spiritual step required to complete your escape. You have to hold tightly to the greatest creator's hand. You must sever those earthly ties, those tangled debts and unaventted angers we talked about earlier, and instead actively establish celestial bonds. This is how you permanently lift yourself out of the vortex of the life and death array. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today, and to a question I want to leave right in your lap. If your joys, sorrows, and struggles are merely an endless game, how will you choose to play your next move? Think about it. If this philosophical framework holds true, and the turbulence of your life is just a cyclical illusion, how does that change what you care about tomorrow morning? Does it free you? Does it challenge you? Take that thought with you. Ponder the true nature of your reality, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.